Hello everyone, my name is Kath Morris. I'm here with Kat Rains and Michelle Hussey to provide a webinar on the RSO PhD Bursary Call launch for the year 2024 to 2025. Next slide, please.
So this is an overview as to why Nuclear Waste Services supports academic research, and the mechanism by which we do this is through the Research Support Office. So there are four main reasons why we care about and support academic research. The first one is innovation, is that we have a real need for innovative approaches to deal with the complex radioactive waste inventory for the UK. We need to provide fundamental understanding to underpin our safety case, underpinning science, engineering, and key processes and technologies. We need to develop people and capability. This is a really long-term project, so we need to make sure that we have the key skills and people in place to deliver the GDF, and that's either working for us or working with us. We also need to develop independent voices that are informed about our programme, and we'll be able to talk about geological disposal in a knowledgeable way. Next slide, please, Michelle. So to reflect further on why we need academic research, we do have a research programme in NWS. We do commercial research with the supply chain, and then we also do academic research with universities and research centres. And this together forms the evidence-based approach that we need to deliver a GDF, informing things like site selection and developing the GDF facility safety case and the design. The scale and the complexity of the UK's inventory for the GDF is vast. We will need to develop appropriate techniques, look at developing engineered barriers, and understanding the uncertainties that lie in the natural environment. We do laboratory work, which includes studies on spent fuel. We need to understand how effective the rock surrounding the GDF is to provide as a barrier, to make sure it contains the waste for hundreds of thousands of years. We also need to understand the long-term performance of wastes, the ability of the engineered barriers and the host rock to accommodate gases, and how this changes over time. Next slide, please, Michelle. So as a brief update to our programme, we are in an active siting process. We currently have 3 community partnerships involved in our process. We're starting work on development consent order, the DCO application for drilling boreholes at depth. The DCO application means that we need to obtain planning permission for developments categorised as a NSIP, a nationally significant infrastructure project, and our decision on the sites to take forward in the process will require more investigations and be considered by the Secretary of State. So we're working towards a decision on the first community to progress to the deep borehole investigation, and we're aiming for this by December 2025. Construction of a GDF will only start when a suitable site has been identified and the potential host community has confirmed its willingness to host the facility through a test of public support, and all the necessary consents and permits have been obtained. And this could take around 10 to 15 years in total. So things are happening, we're well on our way, but it is a long-term project. Next slide, please, Michelle.
Great. With that background in mind, thank you, Kat. The Research Support Office is focused on developing skills and capability to support that national programme. So how does that work? We support delivery of independent evidence-based research underpinning implementation of the UK's geological disposal facility. We foster, nurture and grow interdisciplinary and collaborative research and development, and you'll see the scale and the scope of the types of projects awarded through the RSO Bursary in a moment. We coordinate and centrally manage our research and deliver targeted research to Nuclear Waste Services research needs. And the interaction with Nuclear Waste Services improves contextual understanding and engagement with our stakeholder groups, NWS experts and academic communities. So there's a lot of coordination that the RSO delivers. Next slide, please, Michelle.
So there are multiple ways by which the RSO supports our academic community, and we do genuinely care about keeping people in academia doing GDF-related research for the long term. So we provide funding, mentoring, networking, training, career development opportunities. The most recent initiative that we've launched for this is the Early Career Research Network, which you can now find on LinkedIn. We collaborate with universities and research organisations, and we help to provide researchers with access to resources, facilities and expertise they might not have otherwise. We really want to support researchers in exploring new research ideas and enhance their interdisciplinary thinking. We sponsor PhDs, which is this bursary call, and also have ad hoc postdoctoral project competitions. We're helping researchers to build their skills in achieving impact so their finding can influence real-world change. We have plenty of challenges that academia can help us resolve through the Research Support Office. We provide researchers with the opportunities to work on projects that have practical applications. We encourage them to engage with industry professionals, not just with NWS, but wider, and create a supportive and inclusive environment where researchers can develop skills and knowledge needed to achieve their full potential. Next slide, please.
So a little bit of information for you around our past PhD bursary calls with Nuclear Waste Services. You can see we've got a good platform of several years of PhD bursary call rounds. Overall, we've got approximately 26% average success rate, which is competitive but positive, and NWS has, with leveraging from other sources, coordinated an award of greater than £3.7 million. So we have a platform and we have a community already from our PhD bursary calls, and the RSO has this annual activity to support the extension of our research community. Next slide, please.
So this is just to highlight what our RSA community currently looks like, and this is a photo taken at this year's annual conference in Sheffield. When we have applications that come into the bursary call, quite often people say that they don't require support from us, that the burden of time on NWS is minimum in what they're proposing. And I just really want to highlight that that's not what we're trying to do here. We're trying to build a community where we are working collaboratively and we're working together. We really care about each project that we put forward in the RSO, and it will have significant support from an NWS member of staff to help support the student, keep the work focused on NWS's needs and make your research as useful as possible. So just to think, when you're applying to our bursary call, think about how we can exchange knowledge, think about different ways to increase the impact of the research, and be creative in terms of how you might want to work and communicate with us through the course of the project. And it's because it's a pretty vibrant community. Next slide, please. So in terms of what a PhD researcher gets from being an RSO in the RSO community, so you have impactful research underpinning the GDF, and we're really working to help clarify in our researchers' minds exactly where their research fits, why it's important to us, and how it fits into the bigger picture. There are opportunities for placements and development opportunities. We'll provide an industrial supervisor, which will increase the understanding of the context in which your project is working in and provide guidance. Participation in the annual conference and other RSO events. Access to a large network. So it's really an interdisciplinary community. We've got NWS experts, we've got academics, we've got other industrial partners in the researcher community and across the UK. And it really is all disciplines. We have a really wide range, which makes big events like the annual conference really interesting, because it's people that wouldn't necessarily bump into each other and talk about their research. And lastly, we've got communications and engagement training, which we offer to our RSO researchers to help them talk about GDF science to different stakeholder groups. Next slide, please.
Okay, so some details on the bursary call for 2024, which we're delighted to launch in this webinar event and on our website. Next slide, please. Okay, so our timeline is following previous years. We start with our launch in the week of the 2nd of September. You then have several weeks, 4 weeks, I suppose, to ask any questions, which should be directed via the RSO email. And they are clarification questions. So that clarification period closes at the end of September 2024. You then have several more weeks to refine and write your bursary project and submit it. By the 25th of October is the target date. Nuclear Waste Services then evaluates those calls. The academic community in the RSO isn't involved in that evaluation. And the target for us this time is to have those evaluation results out by mid-January. And notification coming early in January 2025. And then when you've been notified and if you are successful, recruitment hopefully will start early in 2025 with projects targeted to start in October 2025, subject to appropriate candidates being found. Next slide, please.
This is just to touch on what the clarification period actually means. So we give an opportunity for prospective applicants to ask questions, and these questions can be about the grant agreement terms, which will be provided along with the details of the bursary call. People can also ask questions about the scope of the project. We do not want people speaking to NWS staff directly, so this is the mechanism by which to ask questions across the board. And please note that the questions and the answers will be posted openly on the RSO website. So if you have an idea that you want to retain IP on, please don't submit it, and be mindful of how you ask the question if that is something that you don't want to share with other members of the community. Next slide, please. So we provide a guidance document along with the bursary call documents. I would really, really, really recommend reading it and understanding it. We do spend quite a lot of time making sure that all the information is in there. We break down exactly what we will be looking for when we assess the projects, and what a good answer looks like and how much of a weighting it has on the score. If you don't do what's in the guidance document and don't do what we are asking for, you will score poorly and your project will not get through, no matter how good the idea is. So please spend some time to familiarise yourself with the guidance document, as we have tweaked it from last year to make the information clearer. So just to touch on the budget section, we have up to £145,000 of funding available per project. NWS requires a minimum stipend that matches UKRI rate, and with a forecast for uplift over time. Costs should be itemised to the nearest 1,000. Just a note on co-funding, we're really encouraging co-funding. It's not something that we assess against in terms of the proposal evaluation, but we have a fixed budget. We only have so much money we can spend per year on PhD projects, and it just helps us do more if there is co-funding or in-kind funding associated with it. It helps me demonstrate better value for money as well. So it is strongly encouraged if you can bring funding to the application. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to go through every single one of these projects, but just to say that these are the individual PhD projects that will be available for people to bid into in this year's bursary call. You can see a really wide range of topics covered in this project list across nearly all disciplines associated with GDF-related research. Also to say that since the formation of NWS, the RSO is starting to incorporate a little bit of research relating to our low-level waste repository programme. And therefore there is one PhD project which is talking about the engineered cap for the low-level waste disposal facility. The majority of the projects are more specifically related to GDF-related research, and also to highlight that we still have our open topics section, which is if you have a new or a good idea that you think we should know about and relates to an area that underpins radioactive waste disposal and GDF-related research, please submit it through the open topic if it doesn't fall under one of these topic titles already. I think that's all I want to say. So next slide, please, Michelle.
Okay, in terms of the bursary requirements for the RSO, the PhD researchers really gain from that in close engagement with nuclear waste services. So they have regular engagement with industrial supervisors, typically quarterly, but often industrial supervisors will see them at annual conference or other events and follow up on any additional help and support that they can offer. The RSO also requires quarterly reporting from the students, and this is collated and shared with nuclear waste services. And if you are a PI applying for one of the bursary projects, and remember each one of those bursary projects that Kat has highlighted will have further details on our website and some more information around the topic area. If you are a principal investigator that you are awarded an RSO bursary PhD, we request that you make an annual report of the research impact from that project via ResearchFish, and also Nuclear Waste Services is exploring research impact with its researcher community at the moment, so there may be other approaches around research impact. Nuclear Waste Services will check publications and presentations and deliver training to ensure that the context for the research that the student is presenting is appropriately presented, and that's a really interesting learning process for the student about the exchange between their writing style and the Nuclear Waste Services programmes. Nuclear Waste Services is the funder or co-funder if you are able to provide leveraging, and it's important that the Nuclear Waste Services funding is acknowledged on presentations and publications. Kat, would you like to cover the grant agreement side?
Yep, sure. So we'll make a copy of the grant agreement available with the bursary call documentation, and this will need to be This is a contractual arrangement between the host university and Nuclear Waste Services. There is a tick box on the form that you fill in that you can accept the NWS terms and conditions, and this is mandatory. A completed grant agreement is not needed with the application, but will be required if the funding is awarded. And once again, the questions around the grant terms and conditions should be asked during the clarification period. I think that's our last slide. So I just want to say thank you for listening. If you have any questions on the process, on the topics, anything in the bursary call documentation, please use the RSO email address that was put on the first slide of this presentation. The clarification period is open for questions, and we really do encourage, if you're not sure, to just contact us and we'll respond. Also to highlight that the RSO website is on the first page of this presentation. Please sign up for our mailing list. We also have a LinkedIn group. We're really looking to keep communicating and keep exchanging information with the entire community as we go through. Yeah, so thank you very much for listening.
Yes, thanks everyone, and we really look forward to your applications, and we'll support any queries or questions that you have through the clarification period. Thank you everyone for your time. I hope this has been helpful for you.
Thanks.